Right, welcome everybody. We're going to give a couple of minutes more till everyone else joins the call and we'll begin, okay? Right, I think I was muted. Did you hear anything I said? Ah, Jesus, I was just talking like, okay. So, right, so we need Daniela, David, and Andres to turn on their cameras so we can begin today's session. I didn't realize I was muted. Sorry, everybody, that must have been weird. And yeah, okay, cool. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do our first listening practice. So, yep, Gloria, I think, are you having some problems with your camera? Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is I prepared 3 different listening passages. It's basically what we're going to do. David and Andres, if you have earphones, that would be awesome. So you can listen to the things. So what we're going to do is basically we're going to listen to the passage. and then I'm going to give you the questions in the chat box here, so you can answer after you listen to the first passage, and we're going to move on to the next ones. Do you have any questions or any comments before we begin? Okay, cool. Jasmine, I'm going to need you to turn on your camera, please. Meanwhile, I'm going to get everything ready. Sweet. So, okay, we don't have any questions. I'm going to start playing the audio track so we can all listen to. Please take some notes, and yeah, we're going to begin with questions afterwards. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, can everyone see the screen? Okay, cool beans.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start playing the recording then. Okay, so we're going to listen to this lecture. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything, let me know, please.
Listen to part of a lecture in an architecture class.
I want to focus our discussion of restoration techniques on a particularly intriguing example. Now, Notre Dame de Paris is the landmark of the city of Paris, peering over the Seine from the Le Pont Zéro de Paris. It's also a classic example of French high Gothic architecture, and its style has influenced many cathedrals and castles alike. The gargoyles standing atop the edges of Notre Dame are a distinctive symbol of the cathedral today. But what a lot of people don't realize is that these beasts are a modern addition to the landmark. You see, Eugene Viollet-le-Duc, who worked on the cathedral, well, he was a leader in this kind of reconstruction philosophy we now call the Victorian Restoration. Now, followers of this school of thought believed that the restoration of a building shouldn't stop at simply patching up the broken windows, but instead, it should provide, I quote, a means to re-establish a building to a finished state, which may never have actually existed at any given time. So, Viollet-le-Duc believed that restoration should be a reflection on the past from the point of view of the present, and so he thought modification and addition was required when restoring a building. And those who supported the Victorian Restoration believed that architects like Viollet-le-Duc enhanced buildings with restoration, updating their facades to appeal to the public of the then modern day. Of course, Viollet-le-Duc wasn't universally loved. There were those who opposed such unprecedented modification of buildings. People like John Ruskin. Ruskin actually called Viollet-le-Duc's work a destruction out of which no remnants can be gathered, a destruction accompanied with false description of the thing destroyed. Pretty severe, right? Traditional architects and historians, people like Ruskin, they were appalled by the alteration of buildings that had once represented French art and history. They viewed such alterations as destroying the legacy of historical buildings and adding on personal, unnecessary interpretation for personal glory. Instead, Ruskin and his cohort supported traditional, straightforward reconstructions. Nonetheless, Viollet-le-Duc tried to bring out his interpretation of the cathedral. The most distinctive example is the third tower, which he added to the middle of the cathedral. While this spire was not a part of the original building, people today probably couldn't imagine the Notre Dame Cathedral without it. This thin, vertical structure reaching up to the sky only complements and emphasizes the Gothic character of the building, making its presence even more dominant in the Paris skyline. He also added many more statues to the building. These stone beasts, which we casually refer to as gargoyles, are actually just decorative statues, and thus should be referred to as chimeras, by the way. Traditionally, the word gargoyles refers to the decorations on the end of a drain pipe, serving a very practical purpose. But anyway, at the time of the restoration, some historians and religious figures showed concern, saying that such grotesque pieces like Viollet-le-Duc statues, that things like that didn't suit the nature of a Catholic church. However, Viollet-le-Duc was praised and avidly supported by the public. Earlier in French history, Notre Dame had been a symbol of the French monarchy and the church, which naturally led to its destruction during the French Revolution. And it was Victor Hugo's novel Notre Dame de Paris that spurred public interest and support for the reconstruction of the cathedral in the 19th century. In English, the title is sometimes translated as The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Victor Hugo's original title, though, refers to the church alone. Now, to the general public, people who had little access to historical documentation of what the original Notre Dame looked like prior to widespread vandalism in 1793, sorry, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. To the public, the image of the cathedral largely depended on descriptions from Hugo's book. In his novel, Hugo described the cathedral as a dark, gloomy place to better accommodate the evil nature of Claude Frollo, as well as Quasimodo's dilemma and struggles. Given that the people of France were so inspired by this book, enough for the reconstruction to be financed through donations, it's not surprising that the public adored the addition of Viollet-le-Duc statues. Despite the changes, Notre Dame still remains the epitome of French high Gothic architecture. From the two towers in the front to the rose windows and the flying buttresses, its main features have been kept intact from the original structure. And given that the Notre Dame is visited by more than 14 million tourists today, maybe supporters of the Victorian restoration had been right all this time. Its architectural and cultural history is preserved, while the modern-day public is still awed by its presence.
Right. So that's the end of the lecture. So it was a lecture about architecture, and yeah, it was pretty interesting what they discussed. So, do we have any questions or any doubts regarding the lecture? The accent was pretty clear, actually. The accent was really good, so we shouldn't have had problems understanding what was said. So I'm going to send you the file with the questions now, and I'm going to give you 10 minutes so you can all answer them. If we don't have any questions, of course. Do we have any? All right, sweet. So we have 6 questions. So as we mentioned yesterday, this is a lecture, so we have 6 questions. So it's 5 questions and a table. So if anyone is having problems downloading the file from the chat box, please let me know. All right, so I'm going to start the 10 minutes so we can all begin answering your questions, and I'm going to start. Well, we're going to solve it afterwards. Okay. If you have any questions or anything to ask, just let me know. All right, so we have 3 more minutes, but by this time everyone should already be finished. Close to enough time. So is anyone still working, perhaps? Yep. Okay, cool. So yeah, in any case, this should be more than enough time to finish your section, but we're going to wait for the 10 minutes to end, okay? All right, sweet. So we should be finished now. How was it? How did you find it wasn't too complicated, was it? All right. So is everyone finished already? Okay, cool. So I'm going to start sharing my screen, and because we're what, 8 people today, we're all going to have to participate. All right, so here are the 6 questions that we have. So who wants to go first? Who wants to tell me the question to the first one?
Maybe it's D.
D?
D.
Okay, why? Explain a bit more about your train of thought.
Sorry, what do you say?
Explain a bit more, how did you come to that conclusion?
I don't know. I got some notes, and it says like they were discussing about the destruction and the addition of that is required when, I mean, the traditional architecture is being like renewed, you know. So that's why I got D.
Okay, cool. Actually, D is the correct answer. Because because yeah, well, even though it touched quite a lot of topics and quite a lot of themes within the lecture. Yeah, basically it was what was about the controversy regarding the restoration of the Notre Dame, right? Right. Who wants to give me the answer to question 2 then? Thank you, David. Camila.
Teacher is letter C, sorry, the spire in the middle, because Leduc incorporate that into the restoration and rebuild of the cathedral.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. And that was also mentioned in the lecture. So they clearly said that the spire in the middle wasn't part of the original design, and he just thought it was a good idea to add it. Okay, thank you very much, Camila. All right, third one. Who wants to do it? All right, Jose.
I think it's B.
B. Why? Explain a bit more how you came to the conclusion.
Because the professor said that the people don't know the meaning of the gargoyle.
Yeah, I actually, yeah, it was mentioned in that context. They mentioned that the gargoyle actually is only the end point of a drain pipe, right? To conduct the rain. So he said that the term wasn't correctly used to refer to those statues that are so iconic from the Notre Dame. But yeah, but because of that, actually, you have to be careful with this one, because when you said its traditional meaning was too limited, it sort of makes sense, but it's not exactly correct what they're saying. Actually, the correct answer is option A, because he says that it's incorrectly used to refer to those statues as gargoyles, and he mentions another name. I don't remember exactly what the name was, but yeah, he said that they should have a different name. So he is correcting a mistake that they usually make. So yeah, that's why A actually fits better the meaning of that passage. But it was a good guess. Thanks, Jose. All right, next one, number 4. Do we have any volunteers? Perhaps Shadia.
I can listen to this part, but I think it's the option C, maybe.
The option C. So you're saying a new wave of Victorian reconstruction.
I think that maybe it could be A.
The end of the French Revolution. Okay. Okay, we have to.
Because it says I don't really got the line, the whole line, but they were saying like because of the French Revolution like had ended, it became that's why the Notre Dame got they renewed, like they went, that was because they were like wanted to edit it, you know.
Okay, so we're between A and C then, right? Who else has a different opinion? Okay, cool. So it's neither, actually. Actually, the correct option is option B, because, well, they mentioned in the lecture that the one reason why, because they destroyed it during the French Revolution, right, in the 1700s. So the one reason they decided to rebuild it was because of the work of Victor Hugo, right? And he wrote the novel Notre Dame, which is also referred to as the Hunchback of Notre Dame in English. And that got like really ingrained into the French Imaginarium. So that's why they decided to keep it. But yeah, like both of them were good guesses, but you have to be really careful about those. So the end of the French Revolution actually caused the destruction of the church, and the new wave of Victorian reconstruction, that was beforehand. That was when they reconstructed it the first time. So yeah, it wasn't necessarily around the same time. Okay, cool. Number 5 then. So we had the River siblings. Gloria, perhaps.
I think that is the letter C. This is just the modification of the cathedral has been for updated to the better.
I cannot hear you too well, Gloria.
I think that the correct answer is letter C.
C or D?
C.
I can't hear you. So it's a bit mumbly. Probably my connection.
For me, is C, teacher.
Gloria, if you can send your guess to the chat, or is it C as well? Okay, cool. So we have 2 people saying it's C. Does anyone disagree? Okay, cool. And actually, that is the correct answer. Because, well, basically to clarify that the opponents of the Victorian Restoration had few valid points. That's not necessarily the fact, because, well, even though it's still debatable, he said that they may have some points, but that doesn't mean that the other points are less valid. So that's not the correct answer. And yeah, the other ones don't apply either. So option C was the correct one. Okay, and Rodrigo, do you want to do the last one?
Yes, but I'm not sure about the order because I get confused with Eugene, Violet, Leduc with okay. First, supported a Victorian reconstruction, I guess it was Eugene.
Eugene, yeah.
Who literature inspired the reconstruction, John Ruskin, and the last one, Victor Hugo, but I'm not sure.
Okay, good. So you got the first one correct, but the one who wrote literature inspiring the reconstruction was Victor Hugo. He was the author of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. So that was the correct answer. And the one who supported traditional reconstruction was opposed to this Victorian reconstruction schemes was Ruskin. So yeah, so we mentioned beforehand that it was actually Victor Hugo, the one who wrote the novel. So just make sure that in your notes you always are a bit careful about those details. Okay. Cool. So yeah, so that's it with the lecture. How did you like it? What did you think of it? Right.
Now listen to a conversation.
Right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to listen to a conversation between a student and a staff member. So this one is a bit shorter, so I'm going to give you a bit less time to answer as well. So, okay, I'm going to share my screen now, and we can begin.
Now, listen to a conversation between a student and a university administrator.
Say, is this the student life office?
Yep, you found us. How can I help you?
Yeah, this is my first year of school, and my advisor told me it'd be a good idea to join a student organization right away. What sort of organizations can I sign up for?
Well, often students join organizations that match their hobbies, or you could sign up for something that's related to your degree.
I don't know. I'm major. Seems like it'd be hard to find a student organization for something that specific.
Oh, no, not at all, actually. Actually, the International Relations Department sponsors a student organization. It's called the Model UN. Members get to pretend they are the ambassadors that represent different countries in the United Nations. They put on performances, having mock negotiations. Once a year, the club even goes out to New York to perform in front of real UN ambassadors.
Man, that sounds like fun. But isn't it expensive? The club fees or travel costs, I mean.
Well, none of the clubs charge membership fees, if that's what you're asking. And most of the cost of travel is funded by the university. But you will have to pay a $50 fee when you take the trip. But I've never heard any complaints about that.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. I might want to do that. What other options do I have, though? I mean, you mentioned hobby-related stuff, and I love watching movies and bicycling.
We have different clubs for both of these hobbies, actually. There's the Wednesday night movie club. They choose a different movie every week and then screen it in the campus theater. And bicycling, well, there's the Mighty Cyclists. They do a big bike trip one weekend a month.
All those organizations sound really cool. Am I allowed to be in more than one organization? My advisor kept saying I should just join one.
There's no rules against being in more than one club, but we usually advise first-year students not to join too many clubs at once. It's really important to focus on your studies in the first year while you kind of adjust to the pace of college studies. That's probably why your advisor told you that.
Right, so I should probably go with the Model UN, huh? Because it's related to my studies.
Well, not necessarily. The Model UN is actually... I don't think I've ever seen a first-year student last a whole year in the club. It's a lot of work. You have to go to meetings every week, study the country that you're assigned, and the New York trip happens over spring break when you'd normally be resting up or doing homework.
Gosh, that sounds like a lot of work. How about the other two clubs, the movie one and the one for biking?
Those are much more popular with the first-year students. Yeah, they're both fun, easy clubs to be in. Those hobby-based organizations are usually first-year favorites because they're a great way to meet friends who share your interests, to get yourself settled in here, socially. I joined one of those. Maybe both, but check with your advisor on that.
Cool. So I'm going to send you the question sheets now. And yeah, we'll have 5 minutes for this one, okay? All right, let me share this screen here. Sweet. So we have 5 minutes. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, time's up. So are we all done? Andres, please your camera. Sweet, cheers. Right. So yeah, so we're going to begin with the first question. Who wants to start? Daniel, I think you haven't participated in the last one.
It's letter A.
Letter A, okay. Why?
Because the student asked the advisor for advice of which club he could join during all the conversation.
Perfectly. So yeah, basically the whole conversation was about which clubs were available, and he was worried about different things and stuff, right? So yeah, perfect. Option A was our correct answer. All right, so you may notice a pattern. The first question, always the first question after the listening part is always about what the main point of the lecture or the conversation or the discussion you just heard was. So yeah, just remember that always the first question of the 5 or 6 that you have is going to be about what the main purpose was. Okay. Cool. So who wants to do the next one? All right, Rodrigo.
Yes, I'm between letter A and letter D, but I will take letter D because they say that those two clubs are not as long as the student organization, and normally it says that basically it takes us two times a week or a month, and the other of the Wednesday club is just for the movies once a week.
Perfect. That was the main reason why she encouraged him not to take the UN club. Okay, cool. Thank you, Rodrigo. All right, who wants to do the next one? We've all participated, so yeah, I'm just going to need one volunteer. Right, Jose, perhaps?
It's letter A.
Why?
Because almost the student, it's another year.
Yeah, well, she does mention that there are no first years usually that can finish the whole year in the club, but that doesn't mean that they don't admit first year students. So yeah, this one refused to admit. That means that they don't allow any first year students, and that's not true. So the correct answer for this one was yeah, actually letter B. Because not in this one it was a bit trickier, because actually you have to go for the ones that weren't actually mentioned. So they do mention that the UN club members sometimes present in front of the ambassadors, but they don't mention anything about the club president being the international relations department. So yeah, okay, so it was option B basically. Cool. Who wants to do the next one? Question 4.
For me, it's letter B and letter D. Because
Okay,
they
why?
were letter B and letter D.
Why?
Oh, because he asked her, or yeah, he asked her that what if he takes two clubs at the same time, and she told him that he can do it, but well, it's not forbidden, but it usually, as it says, that it may struggle to their studies when they are in the first year. And the other one, same. They often join clubs that revolve around their personal interests, because they choose the club and the hobbies about their own preference, I think. What do you think?
Yep, perfect. So yeah, basically option A was an option because they should tell their advisors that they do not want to join more than one club, which is the complete opposite. The advisors tell them that they shouldn't join more than one because usually first years want to join as many as they can. And option C is it is against the rule for first year students to be in more than one student organization. So it's not against the rules, it's not forbidden, but it's not encouraged. They recommend you not to do it. So yeah, it's perfect. Option B and option D were the correct answers. Thank you very much, Andres. All right, and who wants to finish? So either Camila or Gloria, who wants to finish or practice today?
Me, teacher, I think it's letter D because she thinks that the student has not enough information about his own department because she thinks he's like a beginner about all this stuff. And I think, or letter C, but I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, so this one was actually a bit trickier because when in this kinds of questions, when they say listen again to part of the conversation. So basically what they do is they basically give you the clip so you can listen to the thing again. And this one, it was, she said, oh, no, not at all. So it was a bit trickier. So basically, the reason why she said it was actually option A. Because, well, if you remember, the student asked her, would I be able to find one that I don't think I would be able to find one that fits my career or something like that, or my major or something like that. And she said, oh, no, not at all. Actually, there's this club called the UN model. So she was actually telling the student that he won't have problems finding an organization that's related to it. So that's why she said it this way. But yeah, no, it was a bit tricky because we couldn't actually hear the inflection of the voice or anything. I basically had to paste everything in text. So yeah, no, thank you, Camila. Thank you. All right, so I'm afraid we won't have time to do our third lecture, so we're going to begin with that one on Friday. So on the meanwhile, I'm going to start launching the poll. We have 2 polls today. So I just launched the first one. So if you all be kind to answer them. So yeah, as you may have noticed, you have to be quite careful with these questions because they're tricky sometimes. And they sometimes change the wording of certain what can I say, of certain statements. So they sometimes can be misleading. So you have to be really careful. Be really careful that you do not introduce information that wasn't mentioned as well. So yeah, no, that was really good. That was really good first try. Okay, so All right, so I'm going to send the next poll, please. This one is a bit shorter. So do we have any questions or any comments regarding the listening part?
Teacher,
Yep.
can we make notes while we are listening to the exam, right?
Yes. Well, that's one thing we mentioned yesterday, that actually notes are really important.
Oh, sorry.
Because that way, yep. So yeah, they're going to give you a piece of paper that you can write on. So yeah, no, it's actually a really good practice that you take notes of some details, especially names or I know, like some keywords and stuff. So yeah, basically all the details you have to just take
Okay,
notes.
thank
So
you,
that's
teacher.
really useful. Okay, do you have any other question, perhaps? All right, so what I'm going to do is just basically check attendance on everybody. Just give me a second. So what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to focus on the kinds of questions we've already seen some of them today, but tomorrow we're going to just be like get into more details about what types of questions we already encounter, which are the other ones that we're going to be looking at. So yeah, this one is actually not as complicated as the reading part. So yeah, we only have like 7 kinds of questions, so it should be all good. So yeah, before we finish, do we have any other questions or comments?
Thank you, teacher. See you tomorrow.
Hi. See you tomorrow then.
See you tomorrow. Goodbye.